Howdy folks, Pawpaw back with you. Hope everybody's doing good. Today I want to talk to you about Iraq dinar, and my experience in Iraq and how I even know about the Iraq dinar. Back about, 15, 17 years ago, I found myself in a financial bind. I had wrecked a truck and was underinsured and went from making quite a bit of money to almost no money overnight. So I'm looking for a driving job, and I ran across a company called KBR, Kellogg Brown and Root, I think it's called. They were hiring drivers to go transport fuel and other items too in Iraq. I thought about it for a little bit, and I said, man, that's got to be dangerous. But about a week went by, I saw President Bush on the deck of the USS Ronald Reagan saying the war is over. I was like, interesting. So I looked into it a little more, seen how much they paid. They paid good, really good. So I said, heck with it. I went and signed up. Took about, a week and a half. I was on an airplane on the way to Iraq. So we get to Iraq, I was assigned to Cedar 3, was the camp I was on. And we hauled mostly fuel, diesel and gasoline and stuff like that. But it didn't take long to figure out the war wasn't over. About my third trip, we were getting shot at. Okay, somebody didn't tell these folks the war was over. But anyway, we get to where we're going. No one was hurt during that incident. And they were debriefing us. When we got shot at, they would come from truck to truck and ask you what you saw, what you heard. I told them, I heard gunfire, heard stuff hitting my truck, but I didn't know where. And after I was all over, the guy behind me said, man, you a lucky son of a gun. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, well, I saw him fire RPG at your tank. And we got out and looked, and sure enough, you could see where it ricocheted off of it. It didn't explode. But that was my first close call. But the incident that sent me home, this was probably 6 months into this, and it was, little skirmishes from time to time, but nothing like this one. This one sent me home. So we're going from Camp Cedar to Camp Anaconda, I believe it was. And the way ISIS or Al Qaeda used to take out a convoy, all right, I gotta go back. Convoy, anywhere from 15 to 20 trucks. Try to space you out a couple of trucks apart, and there's usually an MP or military police behind the convoy, in the middle of the convoy, and ahead of the convoy. And it got so bad they were putting soldiers in every other truck at one time. So we're cruising along from Cedar going to Anaconda, and the way ISIS and Al Qaeda or whatever they call themselves would take out a convoy, they would either set off a roadside bomb that had been buried under the ground, or they would set an oil can, like a vegetable oil can, and make the convoy stop. And then from there, they would ambush. So we're rolling along, convoy comes to a stop. There was an oil can on the off-ramp we needed to get taped. So the MPs, they shot at it a couple times. It wouldn't blow up. The guy in the back of the convoy, he gets on the radio and says, hey, they're setting a car on fire back here. They threw a bunch of tires in a car and set it on fire. And then somebody commented, sounded like they're marking us. Sure enough, heard it off in the distance, and boom. And then a little closer, boom. And then a real close, boom. The first truck in a convoy. They took out the right front of the truck. Convoy had convoy commander and convoy commander's driver. They both were uninjured. Convoy commander was named Cowboy, is what he called himself. I don't know his real name. He was from Oklahoma. I had lunch with him a few times. We just, chit chat. He had been there long enough to be a convoy commander. So their truck is down. And I noticed these guys on top of a building. So we're on the highway. There's a building off to our right, about a 3-story building. And everything in our right built out of either rock or, what do they call it? Stucco or mud or whatever you call it. But anyway, I see these guys up on top of this building while all this is going on. And they're acting like, while the MPs are shooting at the can, they're acting like they're working up there, like sweeping or whatever. So, just after the mortar hits the lead truck, these guys pop up with AKs and start shooting down on the convoy. And that's when time just kind of slowed down. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm in an aluminum truck. I got body armor on, but what good is that going to do me if I get shot in the head? So I slide out of the truck and get behind the wheel. And I look down the convoy and everyone followed suit. I'm like the third truck. So all of a sudden, about 10, 15 seconds, all the shooting stops. I did peek my head around and look, and the military was handing it to their butts with their 50 cals, man. They were chomping down on it. But shooting stopped, and the truck in front of me started moving. I jumped back in my truck, throwed her in gear. I start taking off, and I see Cowboy is still outside. Somebody had picked up the driver, but Cowboy didn't get in the truck. So I slowed down, Cowboy jumps on the side of my truck, and we take off. About 15 miles down the road, I can't remember the name of that little camp. I think it was Taji or something like that. So we all pull in there and assess the damage. A lot of us had flat tires, and one guy got shot through the belly. And I think a couple of the MPs didn't make it. But that was a rough time. That sent me home. I said, the hell with this, I ain't dying here. 2 days later, I was on a airplane leaving Baghdad International Airport. That's a story in itself. That's how I found out about the Iraq dinar. While I was there, I got talking to people, and they were saying that they have reprinted the currency, so they now have a new currency. And before the war, their dollar or dinar was worth $3.22 in American money, in dollars. And in hopes of them recovering from the war and their exchange rate would go up, I said, why not, Pick me up a little bit, or actually a lot. But anyway, that's where the Iraq dinar comes in. So 15 years later, and watching it now, kind of hopeful, kind of optimistic, pessimistically optimistic, put it to you that way. So the dinar is currently 0.00068 to the dollar. So you think, oh hell, that ain't worth nothing. No, not worth anything. But they haven't revalued their money since that war. And there's a lot that's going on in Iraq over the past 15 years that makes me hopeful, optimistic. But anyway, I made a list. Pawpaw don't make lists. Pros and cons about the Iraq dinar. I'm going to do the pros first. Pro number one. The dinar was $3.22 back in the day. Pro number 2. Last month, Iraq sold $9.25 billion worth of oil. That's 9.25 billion American dollars in 1 month. And they've done it past year and a half or so since oil started spiking back up. Pro number 3. They're the 4th or 40th of 195 countries with the largest gold reserves. They have 130 tons of gold. Iraq is the 6th largest producer of oil. Kuwait is number 10, and currently their dinar is $3.26. In fact, I bought even more dinar after they came out of Chapter 7. They were under UN sanctions, and they limited their trade, and they limited their economy, actually, until they paid off a debt owed to Kuwait. And number 6 is what's got the buzz all over, why I'm doing this video. There's buzz all over the internet or YouTube about they have finally, after a year ago, they had an election. And it took them a whole year to finally seat a president and a prime minister. And they're working on a 2023 budget. Their whole government system is way different than ours, and it would take months and months of studying it to figure it all out. But I watched this guy for the past 15, 16 years, probably 10 years or so. The name of his channel was Pimpy's Investment Chat, and now it's The Other Side of Things. And I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel. He has way more in-depth information about the Iraqi dinar than I do. All right, now I'm going to give you the cons of the Iraqi dinar. Corruption, systemic corruption. I mean, we have corruption in America, but I mean, these politicians and scammers have been stealing from the Iraqi people for decades. Number 2, they're extremely dependent on the price of oil. Price of oil fell back to $50, $60. They're toast again. I think there's 95% of their GDP is oil. Number 3, Iran, China, and Russia are always meddling in their business. They're always trying to get their hands on their oil, trying to get their hands on their gold. That's one thing I didn't mention. They have gold fields, gold mines that haven't been touched. They know there's gold there, they just hadn't mined it yet. And last but not least on cons that I can come up with is they're not on the Forex. So if the Iraqi dinar were to revalue, let's say it went to 50 cents on a dollar, and you want to go cash yours in, you would have to go to Iraq to cash it in. And I can't find anything on the internet about when they may be on the Forex or anything like that. But anyway, you know, I watched some of these videos, and these people are talking about, oh, the Iraqi dinar is going to revalue for $18 on a dollar. I'm like, no, it ain't. Ain't no damn way. You know, it's just some ridiculousness. It is. I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, should you buy Iraqi dinar? You can buy $100,000 worth of their money for about $130 right now. Do your own research. Go check Pimpy out. He not only talks about Iraq dinar, he talks about Vietnamese dong, gold, silver, stuff like that. He got a pretty interesting channel. That's all I got today. Pawpaw out.